Story 1. I had one date with a woman who told me she was in therapy for domestic abuse. I thought it meant she had been abused by her spouse. Through talking with her, she mentioned burning her daughter with a curling iron on purpose. That's when I realized she was the abuser. I was glad she was getting therapy for it, but I couldn't keep dating her. Story 2. I followed you a couple of times, but you never noticed me. I love you. From now on, you are not allowed to speak to other men. All that from the same guy, from the same night, from the first and only date. Story 3. He relayed the story of how he had thrown a full milkshake out of a moving car at an old lady who was walking on the sidewalk and hit her full in the chest. He could barely get the story out, he was laughing so hard. I thought this was something he had maybe done when he was in middle school and trying to show off for his friends. That would have been bad enough. No, he did this when he was 21. What a plain jerk. Forget you, John. Story 4. He told me he put antibiotics in an ex-girlfriend's drink because he thought he gave her chlamydia and did not want her to know. He confessed this. Like, what the heck? Story 5. Only other gay guy at my rural Deep South high school. Super cute. I was infatuated. He was out and very confident, which I really admired. Finally scored a date with him, and he ran over a squirrel on purpose on our way to dinner. Laughed his ass off when the tires lifted and then crunched. My soul left my body, I swear. Story 6. It wasn't a lie, really, it was just something I said so you would like me. Once I realized that she didn't think lies counted if they were told to manipulate people, I was out. Story 7. My ex completely changed after we got married. When I asked him why he had lied to me about who he was before, he literally said, "I didn't think you would like me if you knew." Damn straight. I was like, don't you think I kind of deserve to decide that for myself? Now I just can't trust you at all. And he said, but then you wouldn't have married me. Surprise, surprise, we got divorced. Story 8. Not really dating because we had only one date, but this guy on a first date proudly tells me about how when his ex kicked him out of the house, she owned the house, he took an upper decker in all three of the toilets in the house, meaning he defecated in the tank, and hid feces between the mattress and box spring of her bed and the guest bed, and also smeared it on the bottom of several kitchen drawers and in 2 register vents. The kicker? His version of why she kicked him out and deserved the feces he gave her was, she was crazy. She got jealous just because she's wasting her life working for the man, and I still know how to have fun and not let money control me. I bailed on that date so fast. Story 9. I already had a terrible image of him, but he had already beaten me beyond fighting back until he got me my cat. My sadly passed old lady Boo. He held her up by her neck and tail and pulled, kicking me every time I tried to get her away from him. Now I know you'll never leave because you'll never trust me with the cat. Ironically, it was that which gave me the strength to get away from him. That old grumpy rescue saved my life more times than anyone will ever know. Edit. Saves to saved. Story 10. After knowing him for about 6 years, he randomly told me he was really depressed that I quit my old job and that I had lost a lot of value to him. The wording really threw me off. He was pretty good at hiding his feelings, so I thought he just misstated it. Surely my value wasn't just my career? Oh no, it was. He said that a big part of his interest in me was my career because he had hoped to have one like mine, and that's how we met, so me switching was a bit of a letdown. Eventually, he clarified that even though I was now making over 5 times the salary I made at my prior job and had completely transformed my life, and shared a lot of that money with him, from good food to designer clothes he liked, the fact that I no longer worked in his industry made him sad every day. He felt like I should have stayed in that industry to help his career by having contacts and advice, but he knew I was selfish and would take that the wrong way. Story 11. I'll marry you only if I don't get someone better. We were dating for 2 years. She was the one who first proposed to me, and it's not like we were not a good pair. Everything was smooth until she said this, and at that point I just laughed it off. But once I came back home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I brought it up and it turned into a huge fight and she said she meant it. So I broke it off. Story 12. Talking about a news story about the rape of a minor, a very young child. You know she wanted it. She probably led him on, and then only said something when they were discovered. Story 13. I was in a drama group, and the girl I was interested in was very sweet. She had been homeschooled and was quite naive. I never saw her do anything mean. I adored her. There was another girl who had a medical condition that sometimes caused her to have accidents. She was very poor and often had an unpleasant smell. My sweet crush proactively approached this girl in front of everyone and asked her, "Is that a new perfume you're wearing? You smell so good." The girl's face immediately dropped, and she had a look like she didn't know what to say or whether this was mean. She replied, "Actually, yes. Thank you for noticing," and immediately left the room. As a group of people who witnessed the whole thing laughed, and my crush turned around and let out a huge laugh she had been stifling. I immediately couldn't even look at her anymore. Story 14. While fighting with his younger brother about politics and who was right, he asked, "Who has the blue check mark next to their name?" He was 48 years old, trying to one-up his 34-year-old brother, as if he should recognize his wisdom. Yes, elite Instagram man. Story 15. That I should light its ass on fire, when referring to my dog, and then suggested I let her go loose in the woods. He had never even met my dog, just had a thing against tiny animals, I suppose. Story 16. It was something he said while I was with him in the car. Sitting at a set of lights, he rolled down the window and shouted, "Hey fatty, have another donut," at a large woman waiting to cross the road. That was our last date. Story 17. He told me all about a play he once wrote to humanize rapists. It involved a woman sitting on the stage, pretending to be drunk at a bar, with all these men sitting around her. Then it flashed back to the days of all these men, showing something that had gone wrong in each of their lives: divorce, losing their job, being rejected for a date, and so on. After that, the woman staggers off the stage, clearly drunk. All the men then look at each other and follow her off stage, implying that they gang rape her because they all had a bad day. Genuinely the worst thing I've ever heard. He was a self-proclaimed feminist, too. Interestingly, a friend of a friend then told me all about the guy she'd been dating for 6 months, and how she'd broken it off after he told her about his rape play. Turns out we both dated him. What a world. He's now unfortunately pretty influential in my local art scene, but I spread the word about him when I can. Story 18. We had been together 15 years. I confessed to him that I was having suicidal thoughts and was basically begging him for help. He told me that I was a worthless person, he hated me, and that he wished he could kill me himself, which I found to be very impolite. Estimated time of arrival. The reason I stayed was because I felt trapped. At the time, there was every abuse that one could be given with the exception of physical, though that was sporadic, emotional, sexual, and financial. I felt worthless and that I was lucky that someone would care about me. A disabled, worthless waste of skin, who suffers from a crippling pain condition, which led to depression and anxiety. He isolated me from all my friends, even tried to isolate me from my family. After he said the above, I actually ended up in the hospital with a life-threatening infection within days of him saying that. I had been ignoring the infection because things were so bad at home, and I was scared to leave my daughter and my dog with him. He was mad that I took off for over a week. I was in intensive care and having emergency surgery. I should have been in the hospital for weeks, but between coronavirus disease and me threatening to sign out against medical advice so I could get home to my daughter, I had managed to strike a deal of sorts with the doctors at the hospital for them to let me leave well before I should have. When I came home, he was still angry about me being suicidal. He refused to help me even though I was still very ill and had a giant surgical wound to deal with. And that was when I decided enough was enough. My daughter was old enough to start really understanding how he treats me, and I'll be damned if she thinks this is what a relationship is supposed to be like. It's been almost exactly 2 years of careful planning, secrets, and support of loving friends who welcomed me back into our group with open arms. I am just waiting to hear back about housing assistance, and then my daughter and I can start a new and happier life. I'm happy to answer any additional questions. If someone reading this is going through something similar, I promise you can get out. It might take time, but you can do it. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other and don't give up hope. You are loved. I promise you are. Story 19. Months after telling my ex how I felt sexually violated by him and about the ongoing abuse and arguments, He revealed to me that his first thought after I told him how I felt was, "I'll show you what it's really like to be violated." He essentially confessed to planning how he wanted to rape me, down to the detail. I already resented him, but this made me genuinely fear him. Story 20. A couple of months after an ex cheated on me and I gave him another chance, one of his friends, whom I liked hanging out with, confessed to being interested in me. I told my ex-boyfriend at the time what happened, and he said he knew and even encouraged his friend to try to hook up with me because, "You guys flirt all the time, so go for it and we'll call it even." It made me realize how emotionally manipulative he was, trying to bait me into sleeping with someone else so I wouldn't have a leg to stand on anymore. Story 21. I'm a veterinary nurse. While talking about the emotionally difficult day I had, he said, "They're just animals. It's not like you're dealing with human lives." Lost all interest and respect on the spot. Story 22. I used his Google to search something one day, and one of his recent searches was, "How to get my sister to have sex with me." After 2 years of dealing with his behavior, this didn't shock me as much as one would expect. Story 23. My best friend was 16 at the time I was 18, and my ex was 22. He kept telling me how appealing it would be for my best friend and me to make an intimate video for him or have a threesome with him. He frequently mentioned threesomes, and I told him to stop because it made me uncomfortable, and he only ever wanted to have threesomes with my underage friends. Story 24. I deal with sciatica. It's excruciatingly painful and makes walking difficult. I walk with a severe limp. This was new to me 3 years ago and new to her. She didn't see the extent of my pain due to the amount I was working at the time. Our first time in public. Walking from the car to Home Depot, she stopped dead in her tracks, turned to me and said, "You need to stop walking like that. You're embarrassing me. People are looking." The tone of utter disgust and anger in her voice was repulsive. I felt hurt, betrayed, and disappointed. My entire image of this woman that I loved had shattered. Everything was downhill from there. Several months later, I had been taking an antidepressant, and she offered to refill my monthly pill sorter because I was struggling to keep up with my medication. I was on many different medications at one point, and I assumed everything was in the pods. I'd wake up and take the whole thing. She failed to inform me that I was out of the antidepressant and it needed a refill. As a result, over the next several days, I had increasingly worsening withdrawal symptoms. One day, upon returning home with my son, I collapsed on the porch steps and blacked out. He banged on the door and screamed for me to wake up. I was somewhat mentally there but physically could not get up or say anything. She finally came out, pulled him quickly into the house, and nudged me with her foot, saying, "Get up. This is disgusting and you're embarrassing me. The neighbors can see you." She then left me on the porch for over 15 minutes until I could crawl inside. There are many other instances of this from her that I can't even remember half of them, but I remember how she made me feel. I don't ever want to date again. I've never felt so betrayed in my life. Just to clarify, I wasn't perfect in this relationship by any means. I had my downfalls and challenges, mostly related to mental health struggles, but I was never cruel, mentally, emotionally, or physically abusive. She would get chronic migraines and would have to sleep for 3 days. Without hesitation, I did what I could to tend to her, check on her, and treat her with the human decency she deserved. But when I had days of burnout or depressive sleep episodes, she would get upset and scream at me. I hate that I decided to type any of this and am mentally reliving it. Yeah, I never expected this much attention here. Thank you all for your kind words. I'm doing okay, or as good as I can. I'm still terrified of relationships or even trying to date. Perhaps one day someone will come into my life, but I won't get my hopes up. Yes, I've left her and she couldn't understand why. It's truly mind-boggling how she saw no wrong in her actions and still doesn't. I hate that I'm stuck dealing with her for at least the next 16 years, but I do my best to keep the peace, although sometimes it's to my detriment. It's just not worth it to upset her because it can lead to months of her hostility. Story 25. I have hypersexuality from trauma. I can't help it, he said in response to me confronting him for cheating on me through texting. We should have a threesome. No, not with a guy. I don't like having sex with guys, only girls. It's okay. I'll let you pick the girl. I would probably end up marrying an Asian woman. They have the cutest asses, he said to me, a white person. You're the reason your ex killed himself. Story 26. When my ex-husband and I were having fertility issues and had an appointment with my obstetrician/gynecologist to figure out what the issues were, the doctor asked him if he was able to have children. He said yes, then told me that he had apparently gotten someone pregnant. He had told me that I was the second person he slept with. Then, after this revelation, he said I was the third. Later, he said I was the fourth. He then proceeded to tell me that he knew this girl at a recreational vehicle park where his mom lived. He lived there too, and that he had gotten her pregnant. The story changed several times about what happened, starting with her having a miscarriage the day after, and ended with him saying he probably just dreamed the whole thing. Another situation is he had gone to visit this woman he knew was dating online before he met me. We had only been dating maybe 2 weeks at this point, and he told me the plane tickets were non-refundable. After 5 years of asking him if he cheated on me and him saying no, one night he finally said yes. Then he changed his story again, saying he didn't actually sleep with her, and she just gave him a hand job. This made me realize I could never trust anything he said, and that he would change his stories and lie so he wouldn't upset me and I wouldn't leave.